Hey, what's up everybody? It is April 23rd, 2020, and we are ready for TNT today. All right, so today's household item, we're gonna get awfully ambitious here. Yes, it's a toothpaste tube. Pretty crazy when you sort of take a look at this. We have this really thin edge here at the end, and then it kind of blends into this 1-inch diameter, sort of profile here at the end, and it goes into a threaded tube, which is kind of interesting. So I'm going to let you go ahead and just take a look at that just for a second, because those are some interesting sort of threads. Those are what we would call buttress threads. But anyway, yeah, a lot of shape morphing with this. This should be somewhat pretty cool to watch all kind of come together, and hopefully it does. Let's just go ahead and get started, and let's see where this takes us. So let's go out there. Let's just start a brand new standard inch IPT. And let's go ahead and start a 2D sketch. Pick on a work plane, does not matter. And then up here, I'm going to be looking for slot. So it's going to be a center point slot. I'm going to start this from the origin. I'm just going to take this up and go ahead and create the slot first. Now I'm going to go out there and start adding some dimensions to it. So I'm going to say that the dimension from this center point here to this center point here needs to have a distance of about 2 inches. The actual radius of this, we're going to go ahead and just call this 0.03125, just like so. So it's pretty thin there at the end. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just finish the sketch up on that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to origin. I'm going to find a plane that that's actually sitting on. So you have to really take a look at this. You really got to watch what you're doing with this. You have to make sure that's the correct plane, because the plane it's going to be giving to you is really thin. It's hard to kind of tell where it's at. So zoom in there first, and then once you find a plane that looks like this, go ahead and just turn the visibility on. All right, so once we have that, I'm now going to go ahead and start a 2D sketch. I'm going to come here to that work plane. I'm going to pick, hold, and drag, and I'm going to bring this out to a distance of 4.75. Okay, so when I have that, I'm going to go ahead and just draw a circle starting from the origin, and that has a diameter of 1.25. So once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and finish the sketch. All right, so once we have that done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a 2D sketch. Once again, I'm going to come here to this work plane. I'm going to pick, hold, and drag. I'm going to send this in the other direction, but we can see that is going into a negative direction. So I'm going to say negative 4.75 divided by 2. So I'm going to be basically getting my halfway point. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. Now when I do that, I'm going to come up here underneath circle. I'm going to find ellipse, and I'm going to start this from the center point of that circle. I'm going to go ahead and just bring it up like, however far up here. And then I'm going to be bringing this out, okay, not quite to the ends of the actual circle. I'm going to bring this in, and I'm going to be sort of using this as a guide to sort of morph this shape from circular back into that slot sort of shape. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the sketch on that. And now I'm going to go ahead and get started with this. Let's see how this works. So I'm going to pick on loft. I'm going to go ahead and pick that slot first. Then I'm going to pick the ellipse, and then I'm going to come here to the end and pick the circle. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And now we can see that sort of morphs that into the shape that we're looking for. So we can see it from that shape, okay, and that shape, and then we look at it from this way. Okay, it really is sort of a toothpaste tube sort of looking crazy shape. All right, so now that I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and just start turning off some work planes here that I don't need, just to sort of clean this up as we go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here, start 2D sketch. I'm going to pick, hold, and drag. I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to go ahead and just offset this a distance of 0.375 and hit enter. I now have a circle to work, or I'm sorry, a point to work with here. So I'm going to come up here and draw a circle starting from that center point, and that needs to come out a distance of diameter of 0.5, just like so. I'm going to go ahead and finish the sketch. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use loft again, and I'm going to loft this from this circular profile to this circular profile and go ahead and hit OK. I'm now going to start a 2D sketch here at the end. I'm going to project some geometry right here at the end, finish the sketch, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and extrude this out a distance of 0.4. I now go ahead and say OK, and now I can go ahead and just shut that work plane down just to sort of clean it up. All right, so we basically have the tube sort of ready to go. Now the thing is, we have to go out there and shell it out. We have to add some threading to it. This is going to get somewhat interesting. So let's just go ahead. Let's go with the threading next. Why not? All right, so let's go ahead and let's find a plane that's going right through the center of this tube. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. I'm now going to go ahead and start a 2D sketch on that plane. I'm going to zoom right in here. I'm going to go ahead and project geometry. I'm going to pick that top line to bring that out. I'm going to go ahead and draw a line starting from this intersection right here. I'm going to go ahead and just bring that up like 0.03125. And then I'm going to go ahead and just slant this line. I'm going to send a diagonal line out. Okay, oh, just like so. I'm just sort of eyeballing it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and draw a line now just to connect this profile from here to here. And I'm going to go ahead and trim out what I don't need, okay, which would be this guy right here. All right, so I have my profile for my buttress thread. It's not the entire thread, it's like half of a thread. And I think why they did that was, I'm sure with the manufacturing process, instead of actually having to screw on the actual top of it, they can actually just press it down and it just sort of snaps into place like a speed thread. So I think that's what they're doing, but I don't know for sure. But anyway, let's go ahead, let's finish the sketch on this. And now what I'm going to do is go ahead and, once again, I'm going to go ahead and just turn off planes that I don't need. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off that original origin plane. And now I'm going to come out here and find the axis that is running right directly through it. And I'm going to go ahead and just turn the visibility on. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to come out here and use coil. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that that profile has been selected, and it has. I'm going to go to my red arrow. I'm going to go ahead and pick my axis. Now I'm going to come here to coil size. I'm going to switch this to revolution and height. And I'm going to say I want like 6 revolutions. And the height on this is actually, I'm going to take it past the extrusion. So I think the original extrusion was like 0.4. I'm going to go ahead and send it past that. So I'm putting in a height of 0.5. I'm going to go ahead and say OK. Now when looking at this, we can see the threading looks really, really good here from the side, but we can see that I brought that beyond that. The reason is I want to go out there and just sort of cut that off with an extrusion just so it's an easy blend for that thread to go right into the outside of that tube. So watch what I do here. I'm going to start a 2D sketch, start it right there on the face. I'm going to go ahead and just draw a simple circle. Just make sure I go beyond the threads, finish the sketch. Now I'm going to go ahead and do an extrude. Okay, it's going in the right direction, but I want this to be a cut. All right, so I might have to go ahead and flip it back in the right direction. And what that's going to do is just bulldoze right, the top of that right off so I can get rid of that thread. So it's going to be an easy transition, okay, to get that thread started, okay, and then it's just going to go ahead and just coil around. All right, so we have that. All right, so right now we have a tube that's not empty, all right, it's a solid model. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out here and go to shell. And when I pick on shell, it might take it just a second to crunch some numbers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put in a thickness of 0.02. I'm not removing any faces. I'm going to go ahead and just say OK. Okay, so that took it just a second, but it actually did it. Now, it's giving us this really crazy precision solution there. All I'm going to do is just go ahead and hit accept. Okay, and now that has actually been shelled. But the thing is, there's no way for the actual toothpaste to get out of the tube. So I'm going to go ahead and just start a 2D sketch here at the end. I'm going to go right there to that origin. I'm going to go ahead and just draw a circle. I'm bringing this out, not quite to the threads, but just bringing this out like so. Finishing the sketch. I'm going to go ahead and do an extrude. Come to that, make sure that's my profile, make sure it's a cut. I'm going to go ahead and keep the distance on, but I'm going to send it in like a distance of 2. It's already been shelled out, okay, so it's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and pick OK. All right, so while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and just turn off this axis like so. And let's go ahead and let's peek inside our actual toothpaste tube, and we can actually see the seams on the inside of that toothpaste tube. Pretty cool, right? All right, so the only thing that we're sort of missing here, and I think I forgot this at the beginning, was there's just sort of a crimped end on the end of this actual sort of toothpaste tube. So I'm going to go ahead and just put that on it. So I'm going to start a 2D sketch, come here to the end. I'm going to use a little project geometry here, just like so, just to get that profile. I'm going to go ahead and finish the sketch, do an extrude here on the end, and I'm just going to send this out like 1/8 of an inch. Might be a little bit more. Let's just go 0.1875. Let's send it out that far. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, might be 1/4. That looks about right. I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And there you go. That is a toothpaste tube. That was crazy. A lot of shell. Features on that one. A really, really good exercise for loft. Just morphing from that slot shape all the way up to the actual cylinder, and it tapers down from there. Buttress threads. Many of you might have never even heard of buttress threads. You just saw a good look at that, but there you go. That was a fun one. Pretty interesting. That one might actually, make you work and actually make your computer work a little bit. So, all right. Thanks for joining me for today's TNT Today. I'll talk to you soon.